When he booked a room for two, I didn't know it wasn't for me. I still remember that evening, the rain outside our window, the smell of wet earth, and the way he said he was going on a business trip. His voice was calm, almost too calm. He had never lied to me before, or maybe I had never noticed the lies. For 18 years, we shared everything. Breakfasts in a small kitchen, laughter over burnt toast, quiet nights when we didn't need words. I believed love was like that. Ordinary, but strong. That morning, he packed his bag differently. Neater, more careful. I asked him if he wanted me to iron his shirt, and he smiled. No need, I already did. It was such a small thing, but something in me felt off, like the rhythm of our life had skipped a beat. When he left, I stood by the window, watching him walk away. He didn't look back. Usually he always did. Just a small glance, a smile, a wave. But that day, nothing. Only rain and the sound of the car starting. That night I couldn't sleep. I told myself not to worry. He was tired, he was working hard, everything was fine. But love has a strange way of whispering the truth when you're trying to silence it. A part of me knew something had changed. I didn't know what or why, but I could feel it, like a shadow between us. The next morning, I called him. He didn't pick up. I texted, "Did you reach safely?" He replied hours later, "Yes, everything's fine, don't wait up." I wanted to believe him. I really did. But when I opened our laptop later that night, the hotel confirmation email was still open on the screen. The subject line said, "Reservation confirmed, room for two." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Maybe it was a mistake. Maybe he meant to book it for his colleague. Maybe anything but what my heart feared. But deep down, I knew. Something in me broke quietly. No tears, no screams, just silence. That was the night I stopped feeling safe in my own love. Before everything changed, we were just an ordinary couple. Not perfect, not dramatic, just us. We met in the most unexpected way. I was working at a small bookstore downtown. He used to come every Friday evening pretending to browse through novels, though I later learned he wasn't much of a reader. He just wanted to talk to me. He had that quiet kind of charm, not the loud, showy kind, but gentle. When he smiled, his eyes softened, and somehow, I always felt safe. I remember the day he finally asked me out. His voice trembled a little and he said, "Would you mind having tea with me? Just tea. I promise not to bore you." I laughed then. If only I knew how much that laughter would mean to me later. Our love story wasn't grand. It was simple. Evening walks, shared umbrellas, phone calls that lasted too long. He never missed a birthday, never forgot to say good morning. He was my best friend before he became my husband. After we got married, we didn't have much. A small apartment, second-hand furniture, and big dreams. But we were happy. We built a life slowly, piece by piece. I cooked, he worked long hours, and at night we'd sit together, sometimes watching old movies, sometimes just talking about nothing. There was a warmth to those years. Even silence felt comforting. He'd often say, "You make this place feel like home," and I believed him. When things got tough, when bills piled up, when he lost his first job, we held each other tighter. I thought that's what love was, staying no matter how hard it gets. Then, as time went by, success found him. He got promoted, then promoted again. Our home changed, our clothes changed, our dinners became fancier. But the one thing I never thought would change was us. He started traveling more for work. At first, I was proud. I'd help him pack, kiss his forehead, and wait for his calls. But soon, the calls became shorter. The "I miss you" messages stopped coming. He grew quieter, not in a peaceful way, but distant, like he was always somewhere else, even when he was sitting right next to me. I told myself it was stress, that he was just tired. But deep down, I missed the man who once held my hand in crowded markets, the one who brought me flowers for no reason. It's strange, isn't it? How you can live with someone every day, share a bed, share meals, and still feel like they're slipping away, inch by inch, without a sound. And when you finally notice, it's already too late. It started with little things, so small I almost ignored them. He stopped laughing at my jokes. He stopped noticing when I wore the dress he once said made me look beautiful. Our dinners, once filled with stories and laughter, became quiet. He'd scroll through his phone, nodding absently while I spoke. At first, I told myself it was normal. 18 years of marriage changes people. Maybe comfort just looks like silence. But it didn't feel like comfort. It felt like emptiness. One evening, I made his favorite meal, chicken curry with rice, the one I used to make when we couldn't afford takeout. I set the table, lit a candle, even played the old songs he liked. He came home late, tired, distracted. "I already ate," he said simply, loosening his tie. Then he walked past me. No apology. No glance at the table I had spent hours preparing. That night I sat there alone, staring at 2 plates, one untouched, one never used. The candle burned out before I did. Days turned into weeks, and the distance grew heavier. He was always on calls, always in a meeting, always busy. Sometimes he'd come home smelling of perfume, not mine, a softer floral scent, something unfamiliar yet hauntingly present. I asked once, half joking, "You using new cologne?" He smiled faintly. Maybe someone at the office hugged me. I laughed on the outside, but inside, something shattered. I started noticing things I wish I hadn't. Messages he quickly deleted, a new password on his phone, the way he suddenly became protective of it. The man who once left his phone lying around the house now kept it in his pocket, even in the shower. One morning he said he was traveling again. "Just 2 nights," he said. I nodded, pretending it didn't sting, pretending I didn't see how easily the lie rolled off his tongue. That night, I couldn't sleep. The sound of the clock ticking felt too loud, so I did something I had never done before. I checked his emails. My hands trembled as I typed his password. He hadn't changed that one. And there it was. The hotel confirmation. A beautiful seaside hotel. Room for 2. I stared at the screen until my eyes blurred. My mind tried to reason. Maybe it was work, maybe a shared booking, but my heart knew better. The next day, I watched him leave again. Same calm smile, same suitcase, same silence. And I stood by the window, watching his car disappear into the distance. It felt like the last time I would see the man I married, because even if he came back, a part of him was already gone. I told myself I wouldn't go, that I would wait at home like always, pretending not to know, pretending to trust. But the heart has a strange way of leading you to the truth, even when you're not ready to face it. The day after he left, I packed a small bag. I told the neighbors I was visiting my sister. My hands shook as I booked a ticket to the same town, the one where his hotel was. It was a quiet place by the sea, a few hours away. We had gone there once, years ago, for our anniversary. Back then, it had felt like paradise. This time, it felt like punishment. When I reached the hotel, my heart was pounding so loudly it drowned out everything else. The lobby smelled of flowers and fresh coffee. Couples were checking in, laughing softly, holding hands. And then I saw it. His name on the guest list. Room 214. 2 guests, 2 nights. I felt my chest tighten. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to know. But my feet moved on their own. I waited in the lounge for hours, pretending to read a magazine. Then I saw him, walking in from the street, wearing the same shirt I had ironed for him just a week before. But he wasn't alone. She was with him, young, smiling, holding his arm. She looked at him the way I used to, with trust, with adoration. And he looked back at her the way he hadn't looked at me in years. They walked past me, laughing softly. He didn't even notice me sitting there. Or maybe he did and chose not to. I'll never know which hurts more. I didn't follow them to the room. I couldn't. I just sat there, frozen, staring at the elevator doors as they closed. When the lift chimed, something inside me broke, quietly, completely. I stayed there until nightfall, the lobby lights dimming around me. The receptionist asked if I was waiting for someone. I smiled faintly and said, "No, not anymore." Before I left, I walked outside to the sea. The same sea where we had once walked hand in hand. The waves were cold, but the air was calm, like the world didn't care about my pain. He booked a room for two, but came alone in every way that mattered. Because the man I loved, the one who held my heart, my trust, my laughter, he had left me long before that night. All that was left in that hotel was a stranger wearing his face. I returned home the next morning before he did. The house looked the same, clean, quiet, familiar, but it felt different, as if every wall had seen what I saw. I stood in the kitchen for a long time, my hands resting on the counter. The air smelled of nothing. Empty air, empty home, empty heart. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but tears don't come when the soul is too tired. Sometimes silence hurts more than pain. He came back 2 days later, pretending everything was normal. He kissed my forehead and said, "I missed you." I almost laughed. The words sounded foreign now, like a song I once loved but no longer remembered the tune. I asked him, "How was your trip?" He smiled. "Good, productive." And I just nodded. I didn't want to expose him. I didn't want to hear the lies. That night, he slept beside me as if nothing had happened. His breathing was calm, steady. I stared at the ceiling for hours, counting each breath, wondering how two people could share a bed and live in two different worlds. Over the next few weeks, I learned how to live quietly with the truth. I still cooked, cleaned, did laundry, all the things I had always done. But something inside me had turned to glass, fragile, cold, ready to shatter at any touch. He must have sensed it too. He started staying out later, avoiding my eyes. Once I caught him looking at me during breakfast, like he was searching for the woman I used to be. But she was gone. The betrayal didn't end our marriage that day, but it ended the version of me that believed in forever. I stopped asking questions, stopped waiting for answers. When he smiled, I smiled back. When he talked, I listened, but my heart had already packed its bags and left. There's a strange peace in letting go, not forgiveness, not revenge, just acceptance. Acceptance that people change, that love fades, that promises are sometimes only as strong as the moment they're made in. One evening he came home and said he was traveling again. I simply said, "Take care." No questions, no emotions. He hesitated, maybe expecting me to ask where or why. But I didn't. When he left, I looked at the empty chair across from me at dinner, and for the first time, I realized I wasn't lonely anymore. I was just free. Freedom doesn't always come with joy. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wearing the face of heartbreak, and you learn to live with it, one silent evening at a time. It's been 2 years since that night, the night I saw him with her. Sometimes it feels like yesterday. Other times, it feels like a story that happened to someone else. He still lives in this house. We exist like two shadows under the same roof. We talk when we must. We share space, but not hearts. There are no fights, no tears, only silence, heavy and polite. I often find myself in the garden early in the morning, watering the same flowers we once planted together. They bloom every spring, even when I forget to care for them. Maybe that's what life does. It grows again, even after the heart has broken. I don't hate him. I thought I would, but I don't. Hate takes energy, and I spent too much of mine loving him. Now I just feel distance, the kind that doesn't hurt anymore, the kind that teaches. Sometimes he looks at me like he wants to say something. Apologize, maybe. Explain. But I've learned that not every truth deserves to be spoken. Some things are better left between the lines of silence. I once believed love was about holding on, no matter what. Now I know. Sometimes love is knowing when to let go quietly, when to stop waiting for the person who's already gone. I still remember the first hotel we stayed in together, years before the betrayal. We had only been married a few months. The room was small, the sheets smelled of salt and sunlight. He held my hand and said, "Wherever you are, that's home." I believed him, and for a while it was true. Now whenever I pass by hotels or see couples checking in, I don't feel bitterness. I just whisper a small prayer, that their hearts stay kind, their promises stay real. Because love, even when it ends, still leaves behind something good. It teaches you who you are, it teaches you what you deserve, and sometimes, it teaches you how to walk away with grace. He booked a room for two, but came alone. Maybe that's what life is, learning that not every two lasts forever. Sometimes, one is all that's left, and that one must learn to live, to heal, and to love again, even if it's just herself. So I do. I live quietly now. I cook for one, I dream for one, I smile for one. And every morning when I see the sun rise, I remind myself, the story didn't end when he stopped loving me.